Right. So, what I suggest we do now is if you get out. Oh, stop beeping. If you get out your phones and mobile devices, have you managed to download the app already? Yeah, hands up who's downloaded the app. I can't hear. Most of you got that. Have you managed to register on the site as well with it? Yeah, as well. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll run through the using the app, using the devices that you have with you, and the mock river water, otherwise known as Coca-Cola, that I think you have there as well. So has everybody got a yeah, has everybody got a device and yeah, so start up the app, and you should start with this page here, which says is the health and safety statement. So please do read that. You will notice that you can select the language as well in the top right hand corner. So there are some other options there. Okay. So once you've read the statement, just press the tick and then use Riverdit. Now there is this inbuilt guide here should you want instructions within the app. Otherwise, just press new record. Okay, now you should be on this page here. What the first thing you need to do then, it doesn't really matter what order you do these in, but I'd suggest that you start with pressing the test pad one there, yeah, which then brings you to this option to start the timer. So at this point, make sure you have your sample ready, so your water sample, and you have your test pad, and that you have given it a bit of a bend to make sure that it opens, that the splits on the. You can have a look at that there. Right now, okay. So then press start timer, and just after or before you press start timer, drop the pad into the water, into your sample. You should see the water start to enter the cracks. You can give it a bit of a prod. It doesn't really matter if it's submerged or not. It should sit on top. Okay. Now, we know when we've tested these that the reaction takes about 2 minutes, and after that, so the pads get bluer and bluer for about 2 minutes, and then they increase in intensity over another about half an hour or so. So it's not absolutely critical, to the second that you start the timer and drop it in. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you're plus or minus 10 seconds, that's going to be absolutely fine. Okay. Right. So now.
Wait, Mark, do we have to let them in the water for 10 seconds or 3 minutes?
No, you leave them there for 3 minutes. You leave them in there for 3 minutes. What I said. Yeah. So when the timer goes off.
Mark, there's a question.
Yes.
Do you submerge them, or they float now at the moment?
They should float. It's okay if they float. You sometimes might. It doesn't really matter though, as long as they're not, sunk right to the bottom, which they won't do. It's okay. Basically, you need to just be able to see that you're getting some fluid entering the device at the back, and you'll see that because the the circles will go a little bit darker. Yeah. So, in fact, my one actually hasn't. This sometimes happens. Is that sometimes you'll get ones where one of the circles isn't quite. Hasn't got anything in it, but that's okay. So that's why we've got multiple versions on there. That's why I'm dropping into my laptop. Right. Okay. So after 3 minutes, the app will start beeping at you, and at that point, you can take a photograph of the device. So what you do then is you just after that 3 minutes, which is almost up on mine, and I imagine we're going to hear lots of other beeping from yours in a moment as well. So that's my one. Yep. There we go. So after 3 minutes, just press the take photo button, and with the making sure the light is even.
Do we take them out before we take the picture?
No, you can just take the photograph of them sitting on top of the water. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah, okay.
Please,
Sorry.
So you take a photograph, and once you've done that, I see a few of you still taking photographs. Okay, and then so there you go. That's mine. Yeah, I've got there's quite a large frame with it. You can see again on mine is that these two, this side that haven't gone blue at all. This one didn't work very well, but I've got 3 that have gone circles which are quite blue, so that should be sufficient. And then you just press use photograph. Now your phone may ask you to allow access to photos. Once you've done that, okay. Now, something that some people miss is make sure that you scroll here and then use this section on the bottom.
Could you show it a little bit more to the left or to the right? I think no. The other one. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So
it's not very visible.
Once you've gone use photographs, you need to go move that down to the bottom, and then you can see there's this selection down here that allows you to select how blue you think the device is. So this is just really because we're wanting to gauge tell whether people are any good at checking, at giving us a good value of how blue these are, and that would save us a lot of bother. So just select one. It's not critical.
Sorry.
Yeah. So it's not critical this at all. It's not that important. So if you're not sure, just select anything. It really doesn't matter too much, and then press save. Okay. It will prompt you that you're happy. Yeah, and do that. Right. So that takes you now back to this screen. Okay. Your other 2 photographs it wants is turbidity. So this is just a picture of your water sample. Yeah. So once again, you're just going to take a photo of the water. So this, in my case, I've just taken a photo of that, and that's just so we can see how murky, how much debris or whatever is in the water. Okay. Use photograph. And again, when you scroll down, it asks you to select how what you think your water looks like. Okay. So I'll let you all catch up for that. See you prodding at your phone.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
For the turbidity, is it the coloring and also the floating material in the water? What should you base it on?
What we're really looking for is how murky the water is, how much material is in sediment is in the water. So it's not necessarily how brown the water is; it's how clear the water is. Again, it's not. Your judgment is about how clear the water is isn't as important as actually getting the photo back to us. We'll check these things anyway. It's part of we're asking users to give us this information, because if it turns out that people are quite good at that, then that does save us a job of analysing it ourselves. But as it turns out, from our experience so far, it turns out people could be quite varied about how they judge how blue the pad is or how turbid the water is. So don't worry about that too much. Okay. And then the third photo is this one here, and that's a photo of your location. There we go. Right. So now there we go. Obviously that would be a picture of the waterway. That's just being used in part because just sort of in case, so we can sort of tell what type of waterway it is. Is it a drainage ditch? Is it flowing a waterway? Is it a lake? Is it, and so on. It might also be useful because we can tell if we might be able to judge how high the water is in the waterway and so on. Again, it's one of those things we included because we weren't sure whether it'd be useful to have that data information, and it was better to include it than wish we had it later on. Right. So those are your three photographs. Yeah. You'll notice that the date part should get filled out automatically, and the next one down is the record code. So that's the number on the device. So in my case, it was 1412. Okay, that's just so we, as I said, so we know where we've sent the devices. We can keep track of when they were made, and hence whether they are past their people used them past their use by date and so on. Okay, and the final one then is location. So when you press location, might prompt you to use your GPS. It should automatically determine your GPS coordinates. It also asks for the name of the water body you're on. Now, that's useful if you know it. If you don't worry about it.
All right. No, go on.
Sorry. So this is the waterbait. So, River Hull, for example, I might put on there. Yeah. And you see at the top there, it's now worked out where I am as well. Now, the name of the waterway, it's useful. It again, if you're not sure, just put something in there, because we unfortunately the app needs you to put something in there before it will let you submit. Okay. Right. The last piece there is notes. Now, notes is just is entirely optional. You can put whatever you like in there. You might want to tell us that I don't know, that you suspect the device didn't work, or that it was raining heavily, or maybe a good joke you want to tell us. It really doesn't matter. Just in case you've got some other information that you might think is important. So some people, for example, have been taking 2 samples at each location, one of the clear water at the top and one of murky water at the bottom. And then they've used those notes to tell us that the measurements are duplicates of another pad. It's fine. It's just again, it's not critical. Yeah. So once you've done that, you've got two buttons at the bottom. You've got submit, and that will upload your data directly to us. If you filled out everything you need. Yeah. Okay. And just a minute. Oh, save. Right, and you've got a submit button, and you've got a save button. Now, submit sends us the data immediately, so so that will use your data allowance to send it to us, and then the save will put it in a saved folder so that you can resubmit the data later when you get back to a Wi-Fi zone, if you prefer. If you do save, then you just have to click on that at a later date and then hit submit. But please do make sure you do that, because we suspect there's quite a lot of samples that have been taken where people have hit save and then got home and completely forgotten about them and never sent us the data. And if they don't get sent, then there's nothing we can do about it. Okay. Now, by all means, run through that now if you want. Don't worry about sending us pictures of Coke. It will be perfectly obvious to us that they're not real, and we'll just delete them. So by all means, you work through the whole process if you wish. And actually, a couple of photos of the workshop are useful for us to record things back to the funders as well. Anyway, so yeah. So that's it basically, and so that's how the measurements are taken. It's quite all we would ask then is that you do these as frequently as you as you can. If you go for a walk every evening down by the side of the river, take some of these, do a measurement or two. It'd be great to have detailed lots and lots of measurements over a long period of time. So don't worry about over measuring. So in some of our cases, the cases where we've sampled, if I show you a map again. Ooh. There. See, so some of these cases we've got very, very nice sets of data that are building up over along one single waterway. And what we're starting to see is that the different levels of phosphates at different times of the year. And this is exactly the sorts of thing that we would like to know. Are there variations in the phosphate levels on how often do they vary? Do they vary over days or weeks or months or seasons? And by having a few people that regularly take their dog for a walk along this canal and do a couple of samples each time they do so, we're starting to get these pictures building up. We'd love it if there are some other parts of your region where we can do the same sorts of things. Okay, so right, so I think we've sent you quite a lot of a good number of devices. Oh, one other thing I should mention is that all these devices have dates on them. So they last about a month. So take a few, store them in your freezer if you can, put them in a Ziploc bag, store them in your freezer. Take them out just before you want to use them, and then take those measurements. We can happily send out more if people are using them frequently. Disposal of them. One other thing I should say is they're perfectly safe to dispose of in regular household waste. They're plastic laminate. and the chemicals in there are not harmful in the slightest. So they're fine to put in that. Alternatively, what we are asked, if people would prefer and they want to be responsible, and this is something that we're actually encouraging, is that if whoever it is we send them out to, we can send a return envelope. You can send the used ones back to us, and we'll dispose of them. We'll strip them apart, dispose of the plastics, recycle the plastic in the recycling, and dispose of the chemicals in our chemical waste as well. So we're perfectly happy in actually encouraging people to do that as well. But if you can't be bothered, if you'd rather not, and you'd rather put them in your own household waste, that is perfectly safe.